1970, the muscle car wars were about to end. Nobody knew it yet, but the engineers did. The insurance companies were coming. The emissions regulations were coming. The gas crisis was coming. So in Detroit that year, every single manufacturer did the same thing. They built the most violent, most extreme, most unhinged versions of their cars they possibly could, because somewhere deep down they knew it was the last chance. Mopar built the Dodge Challenger TA with the 346 pack, but their real weapon, the one that would define the brand for the next 50 years, was the 446 pack. Ford answered with the Mach 1, dressed up, optioned up, and hiding one of the most underrated engines in American history, the 428 Cobra Jet. Both cars were born to run quarter miles. Both companies knew this was their last shot. Both pushed harder than they ever had before. This is the final war. The Challenger was late to the pony car party. Dodge didn't introduce it until 1970, which meant they had exactly 1 year of peak muscle car competition before the market started collapsing. They knew they were behind, so they didn't hold back. The standard Challenger was already a serious machine, but the one that matters here is the RT, road and track. With the 440 cubic inch V8 and the 6-pack induction system, the 440 was already the biggest engine Chrysler offered in a production pony car. 375 horsepower at 4,600 revolutions per minute. 480 pound-feet of torque at 3,200 revolutions per minute. In a car that weighed around 3,400 pounds, that torque number alone was enough to embarrass almost anything on the street. But the 6-pack changed everything. 6-pack didn't mean 6 cylinders. It meant 3 2-barrel Holley carburetors sitting on a single intake manifold. 3 carbs, each feeding 2 cylinders, working together to push fuel into that massive displacement engine at a rate the stock single 4-barrel simply couldn't match. At idle and low speeds, only the center carb ran. The outer 2 stayed closed. That kept the car streetable. Fuel economy wasn't a disaster. It started normally, it didn't flood, but put your foot down past about 2,800 revolutions per minute, and all 3 carbs opened up simultaneously. The sound was immediate and violent. The acceleration was something you felt in your chest. Chrysler rated it at 390 horsepower. Nobody believed that number then, and historians don't believe it now. The real output was somewhere between 450 and 475 horsepower. The official number was low to keep insurance premiums manageable for buyers, a calculated lie that worked out fine for everyone. The 6-pack package came with a 4-speed manual transmission as standard, though you could order an automatic. It came with a Dana 60 rear axle, one of the strongest production rear ends available. It came with a functional hood-mounted scoop, black-painted steel hood pins, and a flat black hood treatment that became one of the most iconic visual packages in muscle car history. The optional pistol grip Hearse shifter cost $97.25 extra, worth every cent. 0 to 60, 5.8 seconds. Quarter mile, 13.65 seconds at 104 miles per hour. Those were the numbers Car and Driver recorded in 1970. In period testing, hot rodders were getting into the low 13 with minimal preparation. Dodge built 1,640 Challengers with the 446 pack in 1970. Some went to the street, some went directly to the track. All of them were built with one purpose. Ford had been doing this longer. The Mustang was 6 years old by 1970, and the Mach 1 was already in its second year. They had the institutional knowledge. They had the racing history. They had the name recognition. What they had in 1970 was the 428 Cobra Jet, and it deserves more respect than it usually gets. The 428 cubic inch engine started as a torque motor, designed for full-size cars, police interceptors, trucks. In that configuration, it made power at low RPM and lived at modest compression ratios. Ford took that architecture, added a 427 low-riser cylinder head, bigger ports, more flow, a cast-iron intake manifold with a 735 cubic feet per minute Holley carburetor, and rebranded the whole package as the Cobra Jet. Official rating, 335 horsepower. Actual output, closer to 410 to 420 horsepower. Ford was playing the same game as Chrysler, underrating engines to keep insurance companies off buyers' backs. When car and driver dyno tested a 428 CJ in period, the numbers they found were significantly above the advertised figure. But horsepower wasn't why the 428 CJ was special. Torque was. The Cobra Jet produced 440 pound-feet of torque at 3,400 revolutions per minute. In a car that weighed around 3,450 pounds, that torque hit hard and early, which is exactly what you need on a drag strip. The Ram Air version, called the Super Cobra Jet, added functional hood scoops that rammed cold outside air directly into the carburetor. Cold air is denser than warm air. Denser air means more oxygen per stroke. More oxygen means you can burn more fuel. The result was another 5 to 10 horsepower on top of an already underrated figure. The Mach 1 dressed the package up. Sports roof fastback body, matte black hood treatment, simulated side scoops, reflective tape stripes, high back bucket seats, and a competition suspension package that actually made the Mustang handle rather than just going straight. Ford quoted a 0 to 60 time of 5.5 seconds. Quarter-mile numbers from period testing came in at 13.56 seconds at 106 miles per hour with the Super Cobra Jet and drag pack option. With the standard 428 CJ, you were looking at low 14 seconds to high 13 seconds, depending on how well the car was set up. Ford sold 40,970 Mach 1s in 1970. That number matters. It meant parts were everywhere. Dealers knew how to tune them, and buyers could order exactly what they wanted. Quarter-mile, identical conditions. Both cars fully stock. Both drivers know what they're doing. The launch tells you everything. The 446 pack makes its torque lower in the RPM band than the Cobra Jet. That means the Challenger gets off the line harder. First to second gear, the gap opens, but the Cobra Jet breathes better at the top end. Above 5,000 revolutions per minute, the 428's big port heads keep making power where the 440 starts running out of breath. Second to third, the Mach 1 starts coming back. A stock-for-stock comparison from period testing puts the Mach 1 Super Cobra Jet slightly ahead, about 1/10 of a second in the quarter mile, with a trap speed advantage of 2 miles per hour. That trap speed gap matters. It tells you the Mach 1 was still accelerating harder at the end of the run, while the Challenger was starting to fade. Result: Mach 1 Super Cobra Jet wins at the strip, barely, by 1/10. But pull that Super Cobra Jet option and go with the standard 428 CJ, and the Challenger takes it back. The torque advantage and the lighter power-to-weight ratio swing the quarter mile back to Mopar by roughly the same margin. This is one of those matchups where the winner depends entirely on which day you ran the test and which version of each car showed up. Strip numbers are clean. Street driving is where the character difference shows up. The six-pack is aggressive. From idle, it has a rough, lumpy quality that makes it clear this isn't a daily driver. The transition when all 3 carbs open is violent. You feel it as a physical surge. The Challenger is heavy, the steering is slow, and the rear Dana 60 wants to get loose if you provoke it. It's not subtle. It was never meant to be. The Mach 1 is more composed. The competition suspension package Ford fitted gave it actual body control. The power delivery is linear rather than explosive. The 428 CJ builds continuously rather than hitting in waves. It feels faster without feeling as savage. On a long, straight piece of road with no corners, the Challenger is more fun. On anything that requires a direction change, the Mach 1 is the better tool. The Challenger ran standard drum brakes. Four-wheel disc was not an option in 1970. The Mach 1 also ran drums, but the competition suspension package improved weight transfer management enough to make a difference in panic situations. Neither car was designed for corners, but between the two, the Mach 1 punishes mistakes less severely. Both cars represented the absolute peak of what their manufacturers could do in 1970. Neither survived intact into 1971. The 446 pack lost displacement in 1971 when Chrysler reduced compression ratios across the board to accommodate regular unleaded fuel. The performance numbers fell. The 446 pack disappeared entirely after 1971. The 428 Cobra Jet was replaced by the 429 Super Cobra Jet in 1971. Actually a better engine in some ways, but the timing was wrong. The market was collapsing. The power wars were over. What survived was the reputation. 2000, Chrysler built 1,640 Challengers with the 446 pack. Ford built more than 40,000 Mach 1s in 1970, but only a fraction carried the 428 Super Cobra Jet and drag pack combination. Today, a numbers-matching 1970 Challenger RT446 pack with the Hurst pistol grip 4-speed trades between $120,000 and $200,000, depending on color and documentation. The iconic colors, Plum Crazy, Go Mango, Panther Pink, push prices to the high end of that range and occasionally beyond. The 1970 Mach 1 Super Cobra Jet with drag pack and shaker hood scoop brings $70,000 to $130,000. Rarer colors and documented racing history push that higher. The Challenger commands a premium because of scarcity. The Mach 1 is valued for what it actually was, a complete performance package built by people who understood what buyers wanted. At the strip, Mach 1 Super Cobra Jet, by a tenth of a second, standard 428 CJ, the Challenger takes it back. On the street, Mach 1 is more manageable, more composed, punishes you less. As a collector, Challenger wins, purely on rarity and the mythology of the final Mopar Blitz. But here's what actually happened. In 1970, Ford sold nearly 41,000 Mach 1s. Dodge sold 1,640 Challengers with the 446 pack. The market voted for the Mustang in volume. The collectors vote for the Challenger now. Which one would you rather have sitting in your garage? The car that sold to everyone or the one that almost nobody could get? That's the final war, and it's still being fought every time someone opens an auction catalog.